First of all, thank you so much for joining us. Flying into Delhi, especially to have this conversation, it means a lot to us. Uh, you know, this is the first edition of the Pharma Summit that we are doing at Business World. And we have been doing healthcare summits for a few years now. And every conversation around the healthcare has always been trying to understand that how can we marry the business objective, financial sustainability, scalability, but at the end of it, ensuring that all this has the patient at the core of whatever we are doing. So I'm keeping the tradition on and trying to build in the same thing for the pharma. How can we scale the business? How can we ensure responsible business practices? How can we build sustainability? How can we build scalability from the pharma perspective, but also keeping in mind that the patient remains at the core? So we'll try and keep the conversation around that. But before I begin, what does scaling with purpose really mean from a pharma leader's perspective? What is the first thing that you would like to share with us when you think about scaling with purpose? And what has Biocon done to prove this to the world?
Well, I think this, first off, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me here. It does sound like a little bit of a Bonvita quiz contest now, because he's asked me about 5-7 questions. I'm going to try and remember all of those. But having said that, you started with saying, what does it look like in terms of scaling with purpose or building a business with purpose? I think that is so very key, because what you do matters so much in terms of what you're trying to build. When you are in the business of trying to make a difference to people's lives, that's a very strong sense of purpose. When you're transforming lives, when you're transforming healthcare, that's an even stronger purpose that you have. It would be slightly challenging if you were an industry which was different than this. But the pharmaceutical industry is blessed because we have the opportunity to make a difference. So if you can do that at a scale, and a country like ours needs that at a very large scale, and India is an aspirational country. We have a 1.5 billion people population. That's as many aspirations as you can look at. And clearly that's a massive opportunity for not just a company like ours, but for every company and every entrepreneur to make a difference. So I would probably say that was my response to you on the first one. The other part is, how can companies scale, and how do you do that with purpose, keeping the patient at the core of everything you do? Now, if you start a business with a sense saying that my objective is to make money, then there are several businesses to do that. You don't have to be in the pharmaceutical business. But if your purpose is to look at making a difference to people where health is important, then patient has to be at the core. There are several miracle treatments available in the world, okay, several of them, okay? It's not like treatments are not available, it is just not accessible. And the reason it's not accessible is because it's not affordable. Just a breakdown of how it is. Where a country like India lies in this is, it has massive aspiration, a large population, which we need the best of care for. We have proven it in our generics industry that we can produce high quality products. We can be the pharmacy of the world, as the previous speaker just talked about. Gautam just told us that the skills exist, which means it's possible for us to produce high quality products. You can do that at scale. That has been demonstrated by the Indian generics industry for so many years. But can we move beyond cost arbitrage? Can we move up that innovation, from cost arbitrage to innovation? Can we actually bring new age treatments to people? Because the Indian population needs the best. And if you keep that patient at the center and you keep the aspirations around it, there is enough capability in the country. There is enough talent in the country. If the right skills are applied, then you can create a genuinely Vikasit Bharat before 2030, 2047 that the government has laid out. And that is really what the private sector and companies like ours should work closely with the government to see and achieve.
Shreehas, can I address you by your first name?
Of course, please.
Shreehas, you use the word innovation. And in my conversations with almost like 200 leaders in the last 4 years in the healthcare space, the two words that come to my mind when we define healthcare is research and innovation. And you use the same word here. Now, traditionally, if you look at the Indian pharma sector, most Indian companies, large Indian companies operate in generics and biosimilars. How do you define innovation in a literal sense, and how can innovation, because I find that we have lacked in research, we have lacked in true innovation when we look at the country, as a country. What is it that we can do to make innovation a strategic choice and build a culture of innovation within the Indian pharma space?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's very easy to quickly dismiss that India has not been up there when innovation is concerned, because it's also very easy to associate a new molecule is equal to innovation. And that's a very easy connect that we make. Okay, but India has done remarkable work in innovation because it's about how you define innovation. Now, I want to take you back to a very important thing that our founder, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, always says. Innovation without access is actually not meaningful at all. So if you can make innovation accessible, that is the first massive innovation that you have done. So the generics industry has done a massive innovation by re-engineering those products and making them accessible to the world. Today, if you look at it, if you stop funding, theoretically, if you stop funding for new treatments, the standard of care will stop at what it is today, okay? New drugs will not come, agreed. But let's say you stop funding for generics, the planet will come to a standstill because the generics maintain health of 80% of the planet. So we need to put the place of innovation in where the right paradigm is, and not dismiss that India is not innovative. India has made a huge difference to the global order in maintaining the health of the planet, not just the health of the country. So I would say that's the first piece. The second piece, I was just having a casual conversation outside with one of our guests at the conference, and there was a comment that China has made remarkable progress in the last decade or so, and there's been 20 billion plus kind of licensing that American companies have done out of the US, out of China. True. But the question is, how do you do that from India? Is there available capital to do that in India? The initiative that the current government has taken with the RDI, where there is 1 lakh crore that has been set aside, is a fantastic step. It's a significant, very welcome step in the direction of fueling innovation. But where is risk capital? Where are other sources of funding where companies like ours, we've invested $1 billion, 10,000 crores in R&D, and another $1 billion in setting up world scale and world-class manufacturing facilities. That's another 10,000 crores. That has come from accruals. If that is available, I believe there will be several more entrepreneurs. There's no dearth of talent in India. There's no dearth of risk-taking ability in India. You'll have several more companies which will develop cutting-edge treatments which can solve so many of the world's problems. So I believe India is innovative. India is at that cusp where we can make a massive difference. We've done that in aerospace. We are doing that in launching multiple satellites. And I think we will be in that space in bringing innovative drugs not too far in the future.
Fantastic. And Shreehas, you use the word access as a second point. And the second thing that comes to our mind is that, the narrative in the industry, not just pharma, not just healthcare, but every sector, we've seen the concept, the C of competing, changing to the C of collaboration, right? How do you think the pharma companies today in India should create a culture of collaboration with government, with institutions, healthcare systems, and local innovators to kind of increase or expand the access so that they are able to create a larger impact on a sustainable basis, especially in a country like ours, which is expansive in geography?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. The exclusivist attitude, saying that I will do everything myself and keep everything to me, I think is of the past. The future is clearly about collaboration. At Biocon, we've always believed in shared wealth, in shared success, and most importantly, in shared values. And that is what is going to build the future of any industry. It's not just the pharmaceutical industry. In the past, we were good at developing products, we were good at manufacturing it, but we did not have presence in so many countries. Today, we are present in over 120 countries ourselves. But we always partnered with somebody who was the strongest player in that country so that we could get these high quality products to as many patients as possible. You have to be of a mindset that you cannot do everything on your own. You have to collaborate, and that could be another private entrepreneur, private company. It could be the government. It has to be the government in many places. It could be any other industry. Today, technology is revolutionizing so much of what pharma does. AI is doing so much that we are trying to do in pharma. And we are collaborating with several technology companies. So collaboration is not the buzzword, that is the word to survive and succeed. So I believe that's going to stay, Harbinder, for a very, very long time.
I'm so glad that you brought up the mention of AI, automation, etc., and how technology is transforming. I think we are living in an era of digital transformation. Mm-hmm. And in what ways does digital transformation impact the smarter growth, the scale not just in manufacturing but also the supply chains, securing the pilferages in the supply chain, etc., and the patient engagement? How do you think digital transformation can be used by the pharma sector to do things smartly?
Yeah, I think that's a great question and probably on everybody's mind in some sense. Let me kind of paraphrase it slightly differently, saying how can technology help evolve how the pharmaceutical world behaves, okay? And I can broaden that. The reason is we've spent a lot of time trying to understand it. The place where we come from, we are in the Silicon Valley of India, okay? We are in Bangalore. We probably have more software engineers than all of Silicon Valley in the US, okay, just in our own city. India has more talent than we imagine, okay? We spent a lot of time trying to understand how can we deploy AI in pharma, okay? And there are several examples, many companies talk about it, We broke it down into two broad buckets. Those which are productivity, efficiency related, which is measurable, which can be looked at and said, hey, I used an AI tool and I improved efficiency from 10 to 25 or 35%. Very measurable, very easy to understand. You use the word SMART, so SMART is an acronym for being able to measure the outcome, okay? The second is transformational AI. If you're trying to look at a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, if you have missing 2 and 4 information, it connects the dots that do not exist. Transformational AI. We have been very cautious. We have used the productivity, efficiency AI models, and I can tell you we have been very, very surprised pleasantly and very confident today that AI, which we now define not as artificial intelligence, but as augmented intelligence, is paying tremendous dividends to what we are doing. It has not taken away jobs, it has not taken away headcount, but it has improved the quality of output. It has moved the quality of work that our people do to a much higher level. So that is the first contribution, I would say, which is measurable for us, which AI has contributed to the pharmaceutical world. And in the transformational AI, I would suggest you wait and watch. There's lots happening. And you would not be surprised if that would be what will get us the first new NCE or the new NBE that Gautam was talking about, not too far away then.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Shreehas, let me move the conversation from the pharma sector to your role in pharma sector, because at the end of the day, you know, whatever we do in the industry is an outcome of the vision of the leader and how they work, right? Now, you are leading an organization which is a private organization, and we, as CEOs of private organizations, we have a shareholder responsibility. But the sector that we are in, and we are talking about patient being at the core, we also have responsibility to serve or bridge the gap that we find in the healthcare sector, the access, the affordability, and then as a CEO of a company which is in a sector like pharma, you also are responsible towards environment. We are talking about sustainability. So you have to balance between the various responsibilities that you have, for which you are, you have to take decisions. How do you balance the shareholder value, sustainability, profitability, all this in the industry?
I love the way you asked that question. I hope you were asking this in front of my boss, and she understands the complexity of the role that the CEO does. But on a more serious note, I think, see, what is core at what we all do is to see that we stay true to the purpose that you've set out to do. If your purpose is to build a long-term sustainable business, then those values don't change regardless of which business we operate. Whether you are in the media business, whether you are in any other business that we talk about, or the pharmaceutical business, long-term shareholder value, and I rephrase that, long-term stakeholder value creation is probably common for any company and any sector. And in our business, it is far more relatable because what you do is very evident for people to see. It is also an easy business in that sense to attract talent because people can associate what work they do making a difference to people's lives. I would be challenged if I was in the industry which was trying to sell tobacco or to smoke cigarettes. That would be a challenging space. But this is an area where the talent acquisition is not that difficult. It would also be easier for us to create value for shareholders to see that what they have built is sustainable because health is perennial. Health will be required for forever that you do. And if you make investments in a responsible manner, which is what a CEO needs to do, then the returns will be predictable, usually, hopefully, for a very, very long time.
Shreehas, You know, I don't know how many people out here belong to the age group that I belong to. Uh, and how many of these people out here could claim that they are continuing to work in a company that they started working or began their career with? Right? I know that I've shifted boats many, many times because of my own personal passions. But when I was doing a little bit of a research for this conversation, I realized you joined this company as a management trainee 28 years ago. And today, you are the CEO. What kept you so bonded in the organization, so committed to the purpose and what you were doing at Biocon? Are there any moments in these last 28 years that you remember having shaped to do what you do today? I mean, anybody out here who's worked in a company for more than 10, 15 years? Same company? You. So, 15 years, awesome. Nakul? 15 years, awesome. 28 years, right? Isn't that commendable? I think it requires an applause.
Well, Harbinder, the way you look at it, you can convert a failure into a virtue very quickly like this, right? I think it is probably an inability to have been able to find opportunity like you did,
You have your HR
which
head
has
also
caused
here.
this. But on a more serious note, I think the way I would put it is, I think I have changed jobs every 2 years. When I joined the company, we were less than 100 people, less than $5 million in sales. We were an enzymes company, very different than what we are today. The company has tremendous ability to innovate, evolve itself, and we have been able to adapt to become a different company. I have played a variety of roles, and I've been very fortunate that the company allowed me to do that. The opportunity was because we had no HR department at that time. So we were our own HR. The moment we got HR, it became very structured. But the fact was, it allowed you to do things that were outside your comfort zone, and that gave you an exposure. But underpinning all of this has always been a very strong sense of purpose that the company had. You wanted to go back to work because you knew that the work that you did was making a difference somewhere to someone. And while maybe it sounds a little bit out there, the fact is, yes, all of the tick boxes of Maslow's theory are important. You need to be paid fairly, you need to be taken care of fairly, you need to be treated fairly. All of that is a check box. But the fact that it allows you to do what you believe makes a difference is a very, very big motivator. And it's not just me. You'll find several people at Biocon who've been with the company for many, many years. So it is probably, as Kiran says, the difference is in our DNA.
Since you were talking about the difference being in the DNA, and I also know that when you're looking at any company which is successful today, has been in existence for many, many years. I think Biocon has been in existence for 48 years? Yeah. 48 years. The company, when it begins with decades and decades of a time gap, what they do today is not what they began doing. And as you said, that the company evolves every few years. But when you're looking at adaptability, when you're looking at being resilient to the changes, the dynamics of the industry, but remaining centered in the purpose-driven, and that was the conversation we started with. What is the core DNA of Biocon that keeps them centered and connected to the purpose with which it was set up?
Yeah, I think that's a question you're asking about. What is the secret sauce?
Absolutely.
And I think that is something that we've been trying to look at. The The answer is unless you live in it, it's hard to realize. But the fact is that the company is like, one of the things is you have a sense of purpose which is shared, which is strong, which we understand. And the second thing is there is no fear of consequence for failure. Because when you talk about innovation, the flip side of that coin is failure. And if you are looking for predictive results or predictable results all the time and success every time, then it's going to be hard to be innovative. I think one of the things, and this is probably the secret sauce in that sense, is Kiran and her way of running the company, is that there is no dearth of wanting to think out of the box. The willingness to think out of the box, even if you fail. I mean, you don't do the same thing again and again and fail. That would be silly. But the fact is you push the boundaries, you do something different, and then you get exponential results, which is why some of the success that we've had in the past is because we've not had the fear of consequences when it fails. And that is probably where the difference is from just being predictable to being innovative and actually being able to leap to that other side.
Fantastic. I have my last question, but before I ask him my last question, is there any question that the audience has, something that they would want to ask him? Because I'm sure he's not easily accessible, available. So here's an opportunity if you want to ask a question to Mr. Tambe. Anyone? Cool, okay. You know, let me ask you a last question. My last question is contextual to everyone sitting here. Is there a message that you would want to share out of your real journey of the last 28 years with Biocon, with these budding healthcare leaders, on how to build a meaningful career and also create an organization that is a lasting institution? Because in the morning I began my conversation, my first conversation was around how do we not just set up yet another company, or in that case when I was conversing hospital, but establish an institution. And institutions are built by people behind the institution, right? So, and every leader has to balance between their own career goals as well as the objectives and the longevity of the organization that they are given the responsibility to build. So what is your takeaways from your own journey, which could be a message to the young leaders here?
Yeah, first up, I won't want to advise people. I think there are several people in the room who are very senior and who've done lots of good things in their career. What I will certainly share my personal experience on this and my views. Every quarter or so, I meet the talent which joins us in the company, regardless of whether they are fresh or whether they join from any other company, whichever function they join us. I've been doing this for, I don't know, maybe 20 odd years now, regardless of which role I had. I can tell you with confidence that in the country, we have tremendous amount of talent. And each time I meet new people who join us, I come out and come away from that meeting with a lot more energy than I went in with. Because they come up with new ideas, they have fresh energy, and they have so much more excitement about the future that actually invigorates what I do. Which is the power of our people, power of the young, Indian overall population that we've got. It is really, really refreshing. So I would only say that believe in your people, invest in your people, and have confidence that they will, overall come through, because they always do. We have seen it. I have full confidence they will.
Fantastic. And Shreehas, there are three things that I have kind of, understood listening to you. the message that I, on his behalf, would like to share as to my takeaway from here is that if you really want to make a difference for yourself or for the company that you work with, you need to have a long-term vision. You need to think long-term. It is not something that you can get, because like I mentioned in the morning, you can do something really quick. You can set up a hospital, but if you really want to build an institution, you have to build trust, and trust takes time, sometimes even generations. The second thing is your approach to being open to collaborations. It's not just, even despite being a very, very large organization, but the mindset of being open to collaboration is what I think can do the magic to scale even bigger, faster, quicker. And the last thing that I feel I could take away from listening to you is having an unwavering commitment to whatever you are doing, which is where aligning your belief systems and values to the core DNA of the organization could really, really be impactful. Shreehas, thank you so much for taking our time. Thank you so much for flying down to have this conversation. It really means a lot.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.